Between 165 and 150 million years ago, birds began to emerge from the fossil record. They evolved from the theropod dinosaurs, but their evolution was piecemealed. Slowly, over tens of millions of years, a timescale that is considered slow, even for the geologic timescale. When they broke away from dinosaurs, they evolved alongside them for quite some time. But it wasn't until the extinction event that killed off the dinosaurs that modern bird species started to appear. And modern birds can be broken down into two cores: water birds like penguins, pelicans, and loons, and then land birds, so woodpeckers, parrots, songbirds, and then birds of prey. And it's always been inferred that the common ancestor that gave rise to the land birds was a predator, equipped with a hooked beak used to tear through flesh. Over time, these predatory birds evolved to what we know of today as birds of prey, and that makes birds of prey one of the oldest bird groups and deeply rooted in bird evolution. And that is who we're going to broadly talk about today. There are around 560 species of birds of prey, and they are commonly categorized as eagles, falcons, harriers, hawks, kites, owls, and vultures. Birds of prey are birds that seek out prey for food. They are proficient killers, retaining that hooked upper beak from their ancestors that allow for them to pierce through flesh. They have strong feet and sharp talons used to dispatch their prey quickly, and keen eyesight to detect their prey over great distances. These are the traits of birds of prey. Their keen eyesight is the most impressive component of their biology. While vision among birds of prey species have some differences, all of them have limited to no eye movement. This is because their eyes fill their entire eye socket, and there just isn't room for muscles that allow them to move their eyes. To compensate for the lack of eye movement, you'll often see birds of prey making quick head movements to scan their environment. Due to their large eyes, they have a larger field of view, with some eagle species having a field of view that is about 340 degrees. Some bird of prey species, like owls, are known for rotating their heads to unnatural degrees. They can also see clear objects from unimaginable distances. Eyesight or vision work where light passes through the cornea, and the amount of light that passes through to the pupil is regulated by the iris. Usually less light enters the pupil in high light conditions and more in low light conditions. From there, light passes through to the retina at the back of the eye, where there are photoreceptors known as cones and rods. Both take in light, but rods specifically help you see in low light conditions, and cones are activated by light so you can see color. The retina is an extension of the brain and sends those light signals to the optical nerve, where the brain turns those signals into an image that you perceive. All animals have these photoreceptors in the retina, and the more photoreceptors there are with less space in between them, the better visual acuity or clearness and sharpness of vision you have. However, having the photoreceptors densely packed throughout the back of the eye is energetically costly. So within the retina, there is a depression called the fovea, which has a higher concentration of photoreceptors. It provides the brain with the clearest images. The fovea of birds of prey pack some of the highest concentrations of photoreceptors around, at least 10 times more than humans, giving them superior visual clarity. As an example, hawks and eagles have 25 vision, meaning what would look sharp and clear for us at 5 feet away is clear and sharp for them from 20 feet away. Additionally, while humans and many other animals have one fovea in each eye, many diurnal birds of prey like hawks and falcons and eagles have two, the deep and the shallow foveas. The deep fovea has a steeper and deeper depression of the two foveas and thus contains a higher concentration of those photoreceptors. Based on where the deep fovea is though, their greater visual acuity is not right in front of them, but on their sides. While this may seem like a disadvantage, especially when they pursue their prey while in flight, they have adapted in other ways to compensate. While in flight, they may move their heads a little to scan for prey, but it would cause conflicts to remain aerodynamic as they lock onto their prey to catch it. So here's where they compensate. One study from 2000 looked at how the peregrine falcon achieves aerodynamics and proficiency in hunting, as it is one of the fastest birds on the planet. To decrease drag, they fly in a logarithmic spiral path, with their head straight but their prey positioned on the side, within the field of view of their deep fovea. Believe it or not, the aerodynamics and speed is better maintained this way than if they were to fly in practically a straight line. And that's because the head movements that would be required to track their prey while flying in a straight line would cause enough drag that would be slower than if they were to take that spiral path. Now, as I said before, the second phobia isn't in all bird of prey species. It's only present really in the diurnal bird of prey species. Owls, who are nocturnal, have only one phobia, and that phobia is located in the temporal region. They only see in black and white to suit the needs of their nocturnal way of life, and thus, instead of having densely packed cones like the diurnal birds of prey, they have densely packed rods, so they can see better in low light situations, better at night. Nonetheless, the hunt is over once they spot their prey. They must pursue their prey, catching or killing it quickly before they actually get a meal. So how do they do that? Well, it's all in their grip. Once they obtain their prey, they rely on their grip, using their strong feet and sharp talons to dispatch them. Eagles in particular have the strongest grip, and of the eagles, the harpy eagle is the strongest of them all. With a grip of 400 pounds per square inch, the harpy eagle's grip can break bones. They also possess the strongest talons, meaning they can catch and carry their prey over fairly long distances. And their prey is somewhat surprising. While most birds of prey go for invertebrates, mice, fish, and rabbits, the harpy eagle can catch larger prey items like sloths, monkeys, and anteaters. While this is kind of scary, the only other bird of prey species that has some shocking prey selection would be the crowned eagle. It is the only living bird of prey species that has occasionally preyed upon children. You can find birds of prey on any continent except Antarctica, with Southeast Asia housing the most species and Indonesia having the highest bird of prey species richness. The most impressive and personally the cutest bird of prey found in Indonesia is probably the black-thighed falconet. It's one of the smallest birds of prey, reaching sizes of under a foot. You may see them in pairs or hanging around in groups of up to 10 individuals, where they primarily feed on insects. They often nest in these crevices that are located in trees, but unlike most bird species in general, they do not bring bedding into their home. Rather, insect pieces from their past meals pile up over time, and that eventually becomes their bedding. But when it comes to birds of prey living in forest, it would be a disservice to not talk about owls. Owls are primarily found in forest, and forests are the preferred habitat of the largest owl species, the Eurasian eagle owl. They may have a wingspan of up to 6 feet in length and weigh 9 pounds. They hunt for rabbits, mice, voles, and other birds, and like all owls, they can see only in black and white, which aids in their nocturnal activities. Now, most owl species will find a crevice in a tree or some sturdy branches to support their nest, but because the Eurasian owl is so large, they tend to nest on rocky ledges and even sometimes on the ground. Their range is only about 100 square miles, and it's been said that if you live within their range and see them in the forest, you are encountering a wild Eurasian eagle owl. But if you see one hanging out in a more urban area, your local environmental education center has probably lost their bird.
Now, I have a general rule that I tell people when it comes to an eagle owl. If you spot an eagle owl while hiking in the wilderness of the Yorkshire countryside, for example, then you quite possibly have spotted a genuine wild eagle owl. If, however, you spot one on your friend's garage roof, then it's most likely an escaped bird.
They are often used in educational programs because they are fairly docile and easy to train. And forests are incredibly important for all bird of prey species. In fact, 258 species, or just under half of all the bird of prey species, depend on forest in particular. And depend is being used very intentionally here. A study from 2018 determined that nearly half of all bird of prey species depend on forest, either because the species has an absolute requirement for that habitat at some point in their life cycle, or it's the primary habitat in which they are found. But not all forests are the same. Tropical forests house the most bird of prey species, and all over the world, forests are being converted into agricultural lands, urban areas, or pretty much whatever else is needed to serve ever more humans. As such, 21% of tropical forest-dwelling raptors are threatened and 59% are declining. Not only that, but a lot of research is going into understanding how infrastructure to power these human-centered environments are impacting birds of prey, particularly in the United States. The golden eagle is the most widely distributed eagle species. And instead of forest, the golden eagle inhabits open grasslands in the northern hemisphere. As it turns out, where golden eagles are most abundant, it is also where most wind turbines are being built. One study from 2025 found that while golden eagle populations have remained stable for quite some time, recently they have been dying from wind turbines, and that has more than doubled in the last 11 years. That means that the added death by turbines to the list of the ways golden eagles may possibly die otherwise isn't sustainable. And when you look at golden eagle populations, in areas where wind turbine projects are being concentrated, their relative abundance is declining accordingly. That being said, bird of prey conservation is incredibly important. But like all predator conservation, it's kind of complex, because humans are complex. Incentivizing protection for birds of prey is complex, whether you are trying to protect forests from deforestation or preventing renewable projects from being put in place. You can talk until you're blue in the face about how birds of prey are great regulators and thus curb pest abundance and decrease disease transmission, but humans are highly influenced by culture and feelings. My feelings don't care about your facts. One study from 2021 set out to understand just how stubborn and complex human culture gets in the way of one's ecological literacy, particularly for birds of prey. This study was a literature review that identified various scenarios where people's beliefs influence conservation outcomes. In one example, the invasive apple snail has been decimating crops in Ecuador. But the snail kite does a good job at regulating their populations, thus protecting their crops. Farmers that place nesting boxes on their property will have a natural pest control, but a lot of farmers are kind of reluctant to invite birds in general to their property. For those reluctant farmers, they continue to use pesticides to deal with the snail problem, even when they are aware that placing a few boxes to invite the snail kite onto their property is kind of like cheaper in the long run. On the opposite side of the spectrum, some farmers in Sicily like to take pride in golden eagles having a presence on their property, even though the golden eagles can take their small livestock. In this scenario, the farmers' belief in golden eagles' intrinsic value trumps the loss of livestock predation. As a result, the farmers downplay the predation rates rather than over-exaggerating them. There is also a non-agricultural related scenario where in Delhi, India, there are these birds that are called black kites, and they're fairly common, and they basically serve as the cleanup crew for carrion. But the birds are aggressive and have injured people. Despite being hurt by these birds, most people weren't bothered by them, and that is because many of these people were Muslims and Hindus. In their religion, and this is the Muslim religion, they're considered emissaries that carry sins, worries, and prayers toward heaven. In the Hindu religion, kites are viewed as providing oneness to nature and a connection to God. Luckily, bolstering birds of prey numbers can happen in your own backyard. Simple things like putting up owl boxes can bring owls and some of the smaller raptors like kestrels to your neck of the woods, and they are reportedly a better pest control than barn cats. More importantly, always Be an advocate to keep nature wild so ecosystems can thrive and regenerate resources for future use. That's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more from me, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.